What's up, Conference USA fans? Welcome into another episode of CUSA Insider, the official podcast of Conference USA. Lots to talk about today after an exciting weekend of football. I'm Sarah Rudolph, your host here on the podcast. We've got a lot to get to, so come on, let's just get started. Joining us here on the show, as always, during football season, Josh Yonis. Welcome back.
Yeah, and my time's coming to an end here, though, unfortunately.
That's so sad. Don't say that. Oh, man. I think that we might have a special episode for the folks next week, so you'll have to tune into that Thanksgiving week episode. Always a fun one here on CUSA Insider for many reasons. One of them being that it is coming down to the wire in football season.
Yes.
Lots of things happened this weekend. Helped us figure out a few things, which is good, but we will get to that in just a second. First, we're going to start out with our top plays from week 12, starting off here at number 5. All right, here we go. It's getting to it, I promise. Here we go. Jacob Clark's 3-yard touchdown pass to Dash Luke.
Yeah, and what an incredible effort. Yeah, great name, great effort here at the goal line to reach the ball over for a very important touchdown late in the game for the Bears. Another big win.
Yes, and another big game for Jacob Clark, too, which we will get to here in just a second. All right, coming in at number 4, we have, Joe Pazanski's 6-yard rushing touchdown. This is a good one.
Bowls him over, gets through a few defenders here into the end zone. Obviously, extremely excited. This one early on to really set the tone for the Panthers. So
for the Sunblazers.
Sunblazers. Thank you. But yeah, great game for him.
All right, we're going to move on now to number 3. Here we go. This was a great one as well. All right, Rodney Tisdale Jr. back at it again. Touchdown pass to Matthew Henry. He is doing incredible things on that football field.
I was going to say, if the ball is going towards Matthew Henry, you better, get your eyes on him because it's going to be something special. And this is another one. Rodney dropping a dime there in the back of the end zone.
Yes, he has been quite impressive these last couple of weeks. Coming in at number 2, Gavin Wimsatt. 62-yard touchdown pass here to, DeAndre Johnson. There we go.
Yep, DeAndre Johnson. Great eyes to find this ball, bring it in, and a huge touchdown right before half.
This was a big one for sure.
I don't know if it did, the Owls in entirely, but it certainly did not help.
Yeah, this was one that definitely set the tone for the second half for sure. Okay, and coming in here at number 1, Landon Coco Brown, 62-yard rushing touchdown. Jumps right over a defender, all open grass in front of him after that. Another win for the Bearcats.
Yeah, and I'm sure Jack State fans are going to be upset. But a clean hurdle, that is one of the most clean hurdles I've ever seen. And for him to not break his stride, continue sprinting into the end zone for a touchdown, a great play. So much deserving of number 1 this week.
And hopefully the Jack State fans are not upset, which is what you just said. You think Delaware fans might be more upset about the hurdle? I don't know.
No, Jack State not being number 1. Sorry. Did I say the wrong school?
Okay, Delaware, Gotcha. Jack State
Pregnancy
probably
brain.
upset. Yeah, pregnancy brain is, I don't know if I've told anyone on the show that I'm pregnant, so there you go.
Well,
the news is out. I put it on Twitter last weekend, Josh, so it's fine. But yes, it's a lot of fun stuff happening here. If I ever trip over my words or say the wrong thing, that is exactly what is happening.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't do my research. Yeah, it's a great excuse, let me tell you, in many ways. Well, let's go ahead and talk through our Week 12 football games here, recap them a little bit. We'll start off with UTEP at Missouri State. Missouri State notching their 7th win of the season. We're all in on trying to get them to a bowl right now. I mean, doing whatever we can. I mean, there's not a whole lot we can do. There's a lot of things that need to happen.
Because, and even like the fans on Twitter and at the stadium, they had the banners. It was like, NCAA, let us play. And it's like, look, no one's trying to keep you from this bowl. I mean, yes, some rules that maybe a lot of people don't agree with, but we're hoping that they get there too, and it's trending that way. I'm starting to see him appear in some bowl projections. People are starting to kind of track these last couple weeks of games and thinking that a spot will open up for the Bears.
Let's hope, because it was a good one. Again, here, Bears outgained the Miners 436 to 240 yards for their 5th straight win. A lot of really, really great stuff going on in this game. We mentioned it when we were talking about top plays. Jacob Clark, another great outing for him.
Yeah, and he's just really hitting his stride here in these last few weeks. It seems like whatever happened in his time away when he was injured, really, turned something on for him.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. Like, it's just gotten better and better every game that he's gotten back. And it's, again, this week, he's a Manning Star of the Week finalist for this week. So good stuff from him.
Yeah, 30-39, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Always the biggest stat.
Yes.
So did a great job to take care of the ball. And then you look at that fourth quarter. So Missouri State built a huge lead at halftime. They're up 24-7. They let UTEP back into it in the third quarter. Tie ball game. Fourth quarter, he comes out 6 of 8, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. So leads those 2 big scoring drives to really put away the Miners. And it's all you can ask for from your senior quarterback, right?
Absolutely. So again, Bears won this one, their 5th straight, 7th win of the season. Lots of good stuff from them. They've got a tough one this weekend going to Kennesaw State, which we will talk about here in a little bit. But our next game of the day, 100 Miles of Hate, Middle Tennessee going into WKU, trying to get a win there. I think performed a lot better than some people may have thought, but ended up losing that one 26-42. What did you see out of that game?
Yeah, I mean, well, before I talk about the game, I think they definitely put the hate in 100 Miles of Hate because WKU really rubbed this one in on Twitter afterwards. But when you've won 7 straight games in the rivalry, I think you deserve the right to, put a little extra on it afterwards. But in the game, WKU offense was just, the same as we've ever seen him, right? 642 yards of total offense. Rodney Tisdale had a season high 371 yards through the air. The Tops had a season high 271 rushing yards. I mean, it just felt like every time they were running a play on offense, it was going well for him. Yeah,
and again, Rodney Tisdale Jr. going out, doing great things. Coach Helton mentioned in his press conference this week, they're sticking with Rodney, even though Maverick McIver is healthy. But I think this was another great performance from a Conference USA quarterback, which you mentioned on Twitter, but the nation took notice as well. Rodney's on the list for the Manning Star of the Week this week as well. I think there's only like 8 quarterbacks that make that list. 2 of them were Conference USA quarterbacks this week. So really great stuff.
Creel over Jack State, we'll talk about him. He was one of the Davey O'Brien grade 8. So 3 of our quarterbacks on 2 of the highest weekly awards. So
lots of good stuff from them. But like we said, WKU just outmatched Middle this week. Although Roman Gagliano went out there with Vadiato not starting, 471 yards of total offense, 2 touchdowns for him. He got Freshman of the Week. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was our Freshman of the Week. And I saw a lot of really great things from him. We'll see if he continues to get the nod. Again, it's just kind of the same story, different program of like you bring in a backup quarterback, he performs well. And then the question comes up, well, do you feed the hot hand or do you, go back to, the guy who earned it? So we'll see what happens with that once we kind of catch up on, Middle Tennessee's press conference this week. But the biggest one or the other big thing for me with WKU, Middle Tennessee stayed in this game for a long time, but in that fourth quarter, the Tops held the ball for 9 minutes and 33 seconds. Wow. And it was behind that run game. They averaged 11.8 yards per carry on 13 attempts. So they were able to just keep moving the ball. They had a big run by Lavelle Wright late in the game that really just kind of put it away.
Yep. Good stuff out of the Hilltoppers, who sit at 6-1 in conference play now. We will talk a lot about championship scenarios and things like that on the back half of our show. So if you want to stick around for that, be sure to do that. But they are still very much in the running to make a berth there. All right. Moving on to Liberty at FIU. I, coming into this one, really thought FIU could spoil, and they sure did. Liberty dropping, 2 in a row now? One to Missouri State, now to FIU. That game going into overtime. But what did you see out of those 2 teams this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, this was an awesome game. Very back and forth affair. No team ever led by more than a touchdown. There's a lot of tie scores. And anytime you have an overtime game, it's exciting. But, Joe Pazanski continues to lead the Panthers right now and playing, great, efficient football. We saw him on top plays. But he had the big touchdown pass to McGuire Anderson in overtime. But this FIU defense, especially the secondary, came up big in this game. Mr. Clark,
the man. He is the man.
He had the game-winning interception in overtime. But you also look at guys like Shamir Sterling, 10 tackles and a pass breakup. Josiah McGrew, a true freshman, 10 tackles and an interception this one. They were flying all around the field, making plays. So I was really impressed on both sides by the Sun Blazers. Sorry.
Sun Blazers, as they were rebranded over the weekend. Lots of great stuff. Unfortunately for the Flames, this does play them officially out of contention for the CUSA Championship, which I know is disappointing for a lot of Flames fans here at the conference office. We're rooting for everybody, but we are also rooting for a little more clarity when it comes to who's actually making the CUSA Championship. So this was helpful for us from an operational standpoint for sure this weekend. Lots of good stuff there out of FIU. And we talk, they're kind of a linchpin in this whole thing for who's making it to the CUSA Championship. There's a lot that rides on them right now as well. They're looking for that bowl eligible win. If they beat some people, there's going to be some real drama when it comes to what's happening with the CUSA Championship. So fun stuff out of those two programs this weekend. All right, moving on to Delaware at Sam Houston. Mentioned it when we were doing top plays. The Bearcats get their second win of the season. I think maybe some people were surprised by this one. What did you think about the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously had a lot of momentum coming off the Oregon State win, and I think their hunger to get a conference win and not end the season, 0-8 in conference play, 1-11, was certainly evident. What they won the Oregon State game off of defense and special teams, and it really came down to that again in this game. Defensively, 8 sacks, 10 tackles for loss for the Bearcats, forced 3 turnovers, which has been a big point of emphasis for them. And then special teams, against Oregon State, it was the return game. This time, Christian Pavon, 4 or 5 on field goals in this game, 2 48-yarders. So, 2 big areas where they are excelling well that are leading them to big wins.
Yes, and Delaware on the flip side on special teams they were looking good. Another onside kick for them. We were like, is this going to be a repeat of what happened last week? But unfortunately missed that game tying field goal, which, like I've said so many times on this program, one thing you could never make me do is be a college kicker. Never. I will never do it.
It is a tough business. So tough loss for Delaware. Obviously they're still looking to qualify, or at least get to that 6-win mark to potentially get to a bowl game. But unfortunately, Sam Houston, too much for him in this one. Landon Coco Brown, as we talked about earlier, he had 2 touchdowns in this game, 109 yards on 10 carries.
Yeah, he had put up an impressive performance. I mean, you just look at that number 1 play from this week. Like you said, no doubt that one had to be number 1. Yeah. There was some great performances on that field on Saturday night. And they look for another conference victory next week. So we'll see what happens there. All right. The final game of the night, to cap it all off, primetime on ESPNU, Kennesaw State at Jacksonville State. I think that maybe it lived up to its expectation for a while there.
Yeah.
Jack State got out in front before the half, but Kennesaw State tried to get back into it there at the end, and it just didn't work out for them. So Jacksonville State takes this one 35-26. What did you see out of that game? Because both of these teams still are in the running for being in the CUSA Championship at the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Jack State in the driver's seat now that they're 6-0 in conference play. But for Kennesaw, I mean, really, I look at one thing, and it's the 3 interceptions by Amari Odom that really kind of tell the tale of this game. Because the first one, he throws it in the end zone after a really impressive drive to get down into the red zone against this Jack State defense, just completely spoils the drive. And so you look at one point in the first quarter, they're driving again, and they're outgaining them like 220-80, but they're down 7-0 because they should have been in a tie game. And so you look at that, and then the 2 other interceptions he threw directly led to touchdown drives. So, I mean, you're talking about 21 points left on the board there, or 20, really, a 21-point swing between 2 touchdowns they gave up on short field positions because of the interceptions, and then 1 that they should have had a touchdown. So, that was really the toughest part. And that's been something that Kennesaw has been so good at taking care of the ball this year. And it came up in your conversation with Amari Odom leading up to this game, is how he had felt so good.
I know
about how little turnovers they had. They weren't allowing sacks. They were just so efficient on offense. And
Amari, I'm really sorry that I jinxed you. I didn't mean to.
You said it. You said it.
He did.
But and then Jacksonville State, I mean, this was just a classic game for them. Ran the ball extremely well, scored in the red zone. The defense, forced a lot of turnovers that we talked about already. So Yeah.
One thing that I saw out of Jack State that I feel like I haven't seen as much in the previous games this season was there were some more big plays, big chunks yardage on the passing side, which I feel like we have not seen as much out of them. And that was good to see from them because I feel like that's been missing from their game a little bit. I mean, you looked at that 62-yard touchdown pass that they threw there right before the half. Some good stuff out of them heading into this final couple of games of the season. Also, you cannot doubt how great the home field advantage there was on Saturday night. A record broken there. 24,000 plus in that stadium. A lot of fun things. And I feel like a rivalry renewed maybe as we continue to have these two meet up against each other in Conference USA.
Absolutely.
So, lots of really fun stuff happening there. That's it for week 12. We will preview our week 13 games here in just a second, but there's another great thing happening this weekend that is not on the football field. Our CUSA Championship for volleyball is upcoming this weekend. We will run through that bracket here at the end of the program, but we have two great interviews that we want to share with you from our time at WKU. Jessica Radford went up to Bowling Green to interview our two volleyball Hall of Famers, Tyson Helton. Yes. Not Tyson Helton.
Wrong sport.
I do this every single time. Travis Hudson and Jessica Lucas. So we will get to those here in just a second. Today, we're shining a spotlight on two names that have become synonymous with WKU Volleyball and Conference USA. Head coach Travis Hudson and four-time All-American Jessica Lucas. Coach Hudson enters his 31st season at the helm of the Hilltoppers with over 780 wins, 34 conference championships, and a legacy that has helped elevate Conference USA volleyball to the national stage. Jessica Lucas is a three-time CUSA Setter of the Year, record holder for over 5,000 assists, and one of the most decorated student athletes in program history. Together, they defined an era of excellence that has helped set the gold standard for what it means to compete and win in Conference USA. Let's dive into their journey, their memories, and their impact on the game. Brought to you by Victory Snacks.
Today, we shine a spotlight on one of Conference USA's greatest setters and leaders in volleyball history, Jessica Lucas of WKU. She's a four-time All-American and first-team All-Conference selection, and a three-time CUSA Setter of the Year, and now a Conference USA Hall of Famer. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
And of course, congratulations on being inducted into the Conference USA Hall of Fame.
Thank you. Yes, and crazy.
Literally insane. I mean, you've been the most decorated player, one of the most decorated players in WKU and just Conference USA volleyball. When you first arrived on campus, did you ever imagine achieving that level of success?
Oh my gosh, no, not at all. I think it goes to testament of the hard work that I put in, and the staff and my teammates are amazing. I mean, you look back at my passers and hitters, and Alyssa Kavanaugh, Rachel Anderson, Cindy Engel. I mean, I could go on, and they were so great, and I couldn't have done any of this without them.
You mentioned Alyssa Kavanaugh. I mean, now your name is alongside her. WKU and just Conference USA. Travis Hudson is also in this inductee of class, in this induction. What does that mean to you? I mean, it's just incredible what you guys have all achieved over these years.
Yeah, it's huge. Alyssa and I, we came in on campus together, and one of our goals was to be four-time All-Americans. And, we established that. And then the Hall of Fame thing was definitely a surprise. I didn't even know the years were up that you could be in. I had no idea. You guys really got me on that one. But then you add Travis to it, and it's so cool to be in with them.
How was that dynamic of a relationship? I mean, she was a hitter, you were the setter. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was just electric. You guys were best friends, roommates. So how was that relationship?
Yeah, I think our relationship off the court, we were roommates, we were besties, going on vacations together, all of those things. I think that really helped on the court. It brought a lot of trust. We kind of knew where each other were out on the court and what ball, I need to put up for her, or she could calm me. She was that calming presence for me on the court if I was having a bad game. Like, hey, just throw it up there and I'll get it. And so we just had that relationship that we could bounce back and forth.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Your teams won 57-3 in conference play, and you guys won 4 straight Conference USA Championships. What made those WKU teams so special?
Yeah, it's very surreal to hear you say that. I've been out for I don't know how long now, so you kind of forget about all those stats. But looking back on it now that you're out, like, we were really good. We were very detail-oriented, and we played hard. We gave everything we had. We knew that, every night we have a target on our back, and teams were going to come for us. And then our staff just kept us on task and, didn't want to just achieve a conference championship. It's let's go win an NCAA tournament game. And, the goals were just set, and it was awesome.
And you guys made deep runs in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Probably one of the deepest ones that Conference USA has seen.
For sure. And I think that goes back to the staff giving us a schedule that aligns to help us with that. We play really hard pre-conference games and big Power 4 now opponents that have us ready by the time we get there. And then we had teams in the conference that were really good. Back then it was Rice, and that was kind of our go-to back and forth. And UTSA, we had some big battles. And so I think it all just prepared us.
You have a WKU's career record for assists and remain one of the most efficient offensive players in program history. What part of your game are you most proud of?
I think as far as my game, and this is kind of something different, but it's the leadership. I think Travis would allude to the fact that I came in probably a timid, shy girl from a small town in Indiana. And so we spent a lot of time on leadership and how I can grow and make other people better. And I think that really stands out in my mind as I reflect on my playing days.
And I love that you mentioned leadership because now, you coach here before, you coach in club now. So what is just one thing that Coach Travis has taught you or just that you learned from just playing the sport itself that you implement in your coaching career?
I think the main thing that I go back on is that it's bigger than the game itself. Like, you learn so many characteristics and things that will take you farther in life than just volleyball. And so I try to instill all of that in the players that I coach today. It's not just working hard and showing up here. It's that you're going to have to work hard at your job and show up and work hard. And I think that's something that I try to talk to them every day about.
I mean, you worked hard on the court, but you also worked hard in the classroom as well. You was an all-academic performer. What advice do you have for student athletes today on how to balance both so successfully?
Yeah, well, I have two parents that are educators, so I had to make sure that my academics are at the top. But definitely just, you don't have to do it all at once. Set a schedule. That's something Travis and I, when I graduated high school early, I was just turned 18 and this was a lot coming onto campus and classes and workouts. And so we would set a schedule every day. And this is when you can go to study hall and get stuff done. And just being prepared in the scheduling part really helped me stay on top of tasks and get everything done.
You've been one of the most successful areas in Conference USA volleyball. What do you think made CUSA competition so unique? You mentioned Rice, you mentioned UTSA. North Texas was also in the conference back then as well. So what was just so unique about it?
I think, first of all, it starts with there's some really good coaches in our conference. You can go on and on about all of them, but they had their teams prepared, especially to prepare for Western. We were the team that had the target on the back and still kind of do now. And so it would be a different team every year. Like I'd said, Rice one year, UTSA had a great lefty right side that would just tee off on us. Like, I still remember all of those games. And so I just think the competition all around. And then it's also friendly competition. Like, I go back, I hate bringing up bad memories, but when Alyssa Kavanaugh had passed away, so many of those players reached out to me, and I don't think they quite understand how much that meant to me. Like, we're rivals on the court, but then off the court, like, they were a friend there for me. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think volleyball just brings so many, I think all sports just bring so many different players together. So I love that they reached out to
Yeah, very, very cool.
For young setters and just student athletes listening to this, what advice would you give to those who dream of following in your footsteps?
I think number one is that it goes really fast. I can't believe that I turned 30 tomorrow. I'm getting old. And so I think just soaking it all in, you get wrapped up in a bad game or a bad day, and it's never as bad as it seems. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and, trying your hardest will get you, and like setting goals will take you very far in life. So I think just don't get wrapped up in the small things and enjoy every second while you're out there.
OMG, happy early birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully I was the first one to tell you. And then no. All right. Okay, the last question. I just want to know, as you reflect on your just time here at WKU, what is probably one of your most honest moments?
Oh, wow. That's a hard one. So I could go all over the place with that. We bus a lot of places and we'll do sleeper buses. So I think the time spent with teammates, I could tell you so many stories about things like that. I think the two volleyball moments of my favorite are when we beat Wisconsin, very first game of the season, my sophomore year. And then the second one was definitely winning the Conference USA tournament here in Diddle Arena. Just having the fans here and, growing the game of volleyball in Bowling Green, Kentucky to what you see now with these huge crowds. It's insane. It's unreal. And hearing the roar of the crowd, it's just something that you dreamed about, that we dreamed about coming in as freshmen. And now it's just continued to grow to today.
I do want to ask you that because you're still here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Yeah. You still visit WKU a handful of times. So just how has that Bowling Green, Kentucky community just been special in your life?
Oh, it's home. I get asked all the time, when am I moving back to Indiana? And it's no disrespect to Indiana. I love it here. Bowling Green's been my home. The people here are so nice. Even when I go out to eat, still to this day, people will talk about my playing days. And that just means so much to me. Like, that's been so long ago. And seeing them show up for the girls now, like, I don't think fans quite realize how much that means to them and having their support throughout all of it, because college athletics is really hard. And so just having the support of the community is huge and can take a player so far.
I mean, you're definitely an icon here at WKU in Yellow Green, Kentucky, and now an icon at Conference USA Hall of Famer. Thank you so much for just taking the time out today, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Coach Hudson is his 31st year at the helm of the Hilltoppers, and now he's the CUSA Hall of Famer. Coach, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Did you ever imagine you'd be sitting here 31 seasons later with this kind of legacy?
I don't think anybody could dream up that big of a story. Western Kentucky's my alma mater, and it was such a blessing to ever get the opportunity to lead the volleyball program here, and to go on to do that 31 years is certainly beyond my wildest dreams.
We just talked about how you've only had 2 seasons, and that was just at the beginning when you first started coaching here in 1995, of less than 10 wins. Just what is your mindset when you're coaching these programs just year in and year out?
Yeah, just it took a little bit of time to build a program. My first year we were 7-26. My third year we were 9-22, and it took 4 years to really set our culture and get everything in place to have a chance to sustain success. And since that 9-22 year, I think we won 25 games or so the next year, and we've won 20 every season since then. And so I think that's one of the things I'm the most proud of, is just the consistency with which our program is operated year in, year out, because, everybody has a star player come through occasionally that can kind of lift a program up, but to do it year in, year out, I think really speaks to the culture.
How does it feel to know your name is now part of Conference USA history, a league that you've helped shape, over the past decade? Yeah,
well, there's just so many special coaches and athletes that have come through Conference USA through time, and so being mentioned in that breath is something that's really, really special to me. And I know Western Kentucky is a very proud member of Conference USA, and to be able to establish a bit of a legacy within the league in the time we've been here is something that's really rewarding.
You've led WKU to 34 conference championships and 17 NCAA tournament appearances. What's the secret behind sustained success for that long?
Well, as crazy as it sounds, the success that we have on the court has everything to do with what we do off it, in my opinion. I don't think you set out, every year is so unique and independent. I don't think you set out to do the things that we've been able to accomplish. I think you just try to get up every day and do things a certain way, and let the results kind of be the byproduct instead of the goal every year. And I think that's the way we've tried to approach this.
You've had an incredible run right now in conference matches, 96, I believe, especially after this past weekend. Mm-hmm. What do you think kept your team so consistently motivated and focused? Well,
it's because we have such great respect for everybody we come into contact with in the league. This league is full of really, really good players and really, really good coaches. And there's no such thing as overlooking someone, in this league, in my opinion. We understand every night out. We've been challenged many, many times throughout that time, but we always try to be a good version of ourselves. And like I said, we have the utmost respect for whoever we're matched up against on that given day. And the combination of those two things has led to a pretty remarkable streak, to say the least.
You touched on the league just a little bit, but how would you describe the growth of Conference USA since you joined the league?
Yeah, I think it always starts with coaches. I think getting the right people in the right places to build programs is such a critical piece. And I don't know that there's ever been a better group of coaches in Conference USA volleyball than there is right now, from top to bottom. And they're at all different stages of growth. Our program is pretty established right now, but we were, as you talked about in the beginning, we were that program that was building at once upon a time. And there's great coaches. You recognize it. As a fellow coach, you recognize it more than maybe a fan would, who just looks at wins and losses. And I recognize the work that's being done in this league by the great group of coaches that are in it. And I think you're going to see more and more evolving programs in the sport of volleyball, because I don't think there's ever been a better group of coaches.
I mean, volleyball has been trending as one of the most popular, most watched sports. How do you feel about that? Just for girls growing up in high school and getting into that conference?
Yeah, I've always, when I was trying to build a program here, I used to tell fans in the community, we used to have 70 people at a game. And I used to just walk around and tell fans, come once. I think this is a sport that if you see it in person, I think you recognize the athleticism and the excitement and everything that goes along with it. And I think, the country is starting to open their eyes to what a wonderful sport this is. And I don't think there's a better sport to showcase athleticism in women than the sport of volleyball. And with more and more exposure, you're starting to see more and more popularity, and that's not a surprise to me.
I'm glad you mentioned the fans getting here and in this arena. You've been here for 31 years. I'm pretty sure you called this home. What does that support, especially now, because you have this place packed with Bowling Green fans. So what does that, support mean to you?
Well, it's just been a little by little process, but I think more than anything else, I think our fans appreciate the fact that we have a winning product that we put on the court. But more than that, I think they've grown to really appreciate the kind of young women that we bring into the program and how invested we are in this community and how invested I am in this community. As I told you before, this is my alma mater. And so not only am I the volleyball coach, but I'm also a basketball fan and a softball fan. And I'm at those events and I support them, just like any other Western Kentucky fan. And we're really deeply invested in this community, and Bowling Green, has been good to Western Kentucky. And so I think that it's important that we kind of return that favor and get invested within the community.
No, I love that. For you, what defines WKU volleyball beyond the wins and championships?
Well, two things that I'm most proud of, I've said this many, many times. The two things, yes, we've won a lot of championships. We've been to NCAA tournaments, but I'm really, really proud of the fact that in 31 years, we have a 100% graduation rate. We've never had a kid that didn't get a degree, and I'm really proud of that. And in this ever-changing world of college athletics where transfers and portals and all those things are so big, we've had 3 kids transfer out of our program in 31 years. And I think that speaks more to what our program is about than any championship or national ranking that we've ever had, because I promise you all those kids didn't turn out to be the next All-American, but they all were here and felt like that they had a staff that was invested in them and truly cared about them and wanted to help them grow, because volleyball certainly was a big, big part of their life for 4 years, but there's a bigger picture to this thing too. And sometimes in today's college athletics, that's getting lost, but it's not getting lost at Western Kentucky.
And I love that, especially with mental health being such a big topic in just college athletics, that they're able to call a place like this home and feel comfortable.
Yeah, and there's so many pressures on young student athletes now, and through social media and the portal, and everybody thinks they know what they should do and how they should do it, and because somebody else is doing it in a certain way. And it's important to have a support structure, and I hope our players think that I'm a great coach, but I hope more than that, they know that they're at a place where somebody really cares about it.
You've been such a strong ambassador for Conference USA Volleyball. When has the conference meant to you personally and professionally?
Yeah, I've always thought it was such an underrated league, because there's really good volleyball being played in this league, and as I alluded to before, there's great coaching in this league, and I'm very grateful for the run that we've been on and the fact that we've been so dominant in terms of, winning championships. But I think it's very misleading, because I think that might make people believe that, Western Kentucky's really good and the rest of the league is not so good, and nothing could be further from the truth. And, we've been very, very blessed to be able to consistently win championships in this league, but year in, year out, there is, again, excellent volleyball being played in this league and really, really fine coaches. And, I've always appreciated that, because, I built our program from the ground up, 7 wins in my first year. And so I've experienced every step along the way. And I know that very often the great work that goes on doesn't necessarily show up at the end, until some time passes and you can continue to build.
Almost 800 wins and 3 decades of memories. Is there one moment that stands out above the rest?
Oh, wow. Probably, I not really one. Just probably, the first championship was always a really special one, because, when I started at Western Kentucky, we had never gone to an NCAA tournament in volleyball and never won a championship. And so that was a group of kids that believed before there was evidence, and that's true faith in what we were doing and our program was doing. And so that one always hold a special memory. And that's one of the unique things about our program is because I've been in the same place for so long, 31 years worth of players and alumni are still very connected. They all share the same coach. They all share a lot of the same experiences, and they all make a lot of the same jokes about their head coach. And, all of those things I think have made it a really, really special place. And so, Alumni Day holds a little more meaning in our volleyball program because it's 31 years of people that all experienced a very similar thing, and that's really special.
I'm glad you mentioned how so many players, can come together and just reminisce on memories for you as a coach. And I'm pretty sure some of those players went off to go coach club or at a high school or college. What advice would you give to young coaches hoping to build a career and culture like you?
Well, I think it's really important to learn from everybody, but trust your own internal compass. Like, I think there are people that think they know and they shut themselves off to different ways, and I think you're missing the mark there. But I also think there's coaches that are trying to mimic what they see going on around them. And I also think you miss the mark there. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think you have to be open to everything that's going on, but you have to run it all through your own filter, because to be a great coach, you have to truly believe in what it is that you're teaching to your players. And so the only way you're going to truly believe that is to buy into it yourself and run it through your internal filter. So I think it's a combination of those things.
For sure. Oh my gosh, that was such great advice. And thank you so much for joining us. I just want to say congratulations again for your Hall of Fame induction. And also just good luck for the rest of the season. We're still continuing our Conference USA season. You're still doing very, very well.
Thank you. We're having a good year. It's a tough league this year, as always, but really, really proud of this honor and really, really proud to be part of Conference USA.
Thank you so much to our very own Jessica Radford, Jessica Lucas, and head coach Travis Hudson for their time on the interview this week, brought to you by Victory Snacks. We are going to head right on into our Week 13 football previews. Lots to get to this week, Josh. A lot of fun stuff happening here. Some Power 5 opponents, Power 4, whatever you say these days, Power 4 opponents on the docket this week, but a lot of conference games still left to play as well. Lots of teams in bowl contention still going into this week, looking for that 6th win as well. So let's get right to it. Why don't we?
Yeah.
All right. First up, Delaware at Wake Forest, 11 a.m. Central Time on ACC Network. A Wake Forest team that almost dropped one early to Kennesaw State at the beginning of the season. So what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great opportunity for them. Wake Forest is a 7-win ACC team right now, so a chance for Delaware to maybe surprise some people on national television. But, I look at this matchup. Obviously, we know what Nick Minakushi has continued to do for this Delaware football offense. This is a bad matchup for them, just plain and simple. This Wake Forest pass defense, top 30 in the nation. Demon Deacons also rank in the top 40 in scoring and total defense. So obviously, a tough mismatch for Nick in this offense going against Wake Forest. But, Blue Hens have only been held under 23 points one time against UConn, under 360 yards of total offense once against FIU. So even though he has been tested against teams like La Tech, a couple others in conference that have impressive defenses. I think that he can still answer the call, but we'll see.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to watching this one. I know that they're a 7-win ACC team, but just watching that game at the beginning of the season, I'm like, I've got to tune into this one and keep my TV on that one for sure. So again, that one's at 11 a.m. Central Time on the ACC Network. All right. Heading to one that is a huge, huge game in Conference USA with this weekend, Missouri State at Kennesaw State. Missouri State, they got nothing to lose. They're 7 wins. They cannot make the CUSA Championship in their first year in the league. They may or may not make a bowl game at this point because of those rules that we talked about earlier, but there is a ton riding on this game for Kennesaw State. It is at 1 p.m. Central Time on ESPN+. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, if Kennesaw loses this game, they are out of the CUSA Championship race, and then it's down to just Jack State and WKU playing for hosting. So obviously a lot on the line for them. Missouri State, wants to make a lot of noise, because if that opportunity opens up for them to get to a bowl game, if you're talking about a 9-win Missouri State team in year 1 in FBS, that's obviously going to be very enticing for bowl partners to invite them. But it just beyond all of that, and I had a conversation with Jack Nixon out in Las Cruces, New Mexico. He interviewed me on their station out there, and he had asked me about 2 of the teams that are the teams that had surprised us the most this year, because obviously there's some normal culprits at the top. These are 2 of the ones that obviously stick out, right? Because two of the newest teams in FBS, both of them 7-3, 5-1 in Conference USA play. I think exceeding all expectations that both programs had coming into this year. So regardless of what happens in this game, what happens the last couple of weeks of the season, these two fan bases should be, extremely proud of their teams and their futures too, I think. So, but looking at the game itself, Jacob Clark, we talked about the momentum that he's been building week by week. Kennesaw State has not really played. It's been a long time since they played a team that has been very pass heavy.
Yeah.
And their pass defense numbers aren't great. They do like to force a lot of turnovers, but they do allow a lot of yards. So if Jacob Clark can continue to work drives down the field, that could be dangerous for them. And I think the other thing I was going to mention about Missouri State too, 4-1 on the road this season. They went and beat Marshall
Warriors
in Huntington, West Virginia, which was a huge deal. They beat Liberty in Lynchburg. They've had a lot of pivotal road wins, so this is a chance for them to add another one to that.
When I look at this game, Jacob Clark needs to keep doing what he's doing. Amari Odom / Dexter Williams. I mean, I guess we don't necessarily know who's going to come out there. Yep. Need to shore it up on the turnover side and get back to what they were doing a couple of weeks ago when they were not turning the ball over and making good drives down the field. So, definitely an interesting one. One thing of note that people may or may not know, Kennesaw State officially cannot host the CUSA Championship. They are out of contention for that, but they can still make a berth in the championship, but they do have to do a lot of work in their last two games to get there.
Yeah, and I think a key for the Owls too in this one is we know what their defensive front can do. They're top 30 in the nation in sacks, and having watched that Missouri State UTEP game pretty intently, Jacob Clark was on the run a lot in that game, and they've really struggled with allowing sacks. So if Kennesaw State can continue to put that pressure on Jacob Clark, they did manage to make some really good adjustments against UTEP. You saw a lot more play action. You saw him rolling out more to open up the offense a little bit and kind of get the pressure off. So if they can continue to do that to counter Kennesaw State's pass rush, again, that might spell success for Missouri State, but I think that's definitely going to be, I think those Kennesaw State guys up front are going to be hungry to get him on the ground in this one.
This is definitely one to watch. You should be tuning into this game, 1 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus this upcoming Saturday. Another really interesting one, Liberty at Louisiana Tech. These two teams not playing for a chance in the Conference USA Championship, but both of these teams playing for a 6th win to get to bowl eligibility.
Yeah, Liberty at 4-6, La Tech in 5-5. Obviously, La Tech sitting in the better position. Right. Only needing 1 win in these last 2 weeks. Liberty's, really up against the ropes right now.
They are
needing to win against at La Tech and then against Kennesaw,
who will definitely, depending on how things go, be looking for another win there too.
Absolutely. So, and the Flames, you look at their history even before they got to Conference USA, they've been in a bowl game in 6 straight years. So they're at risk of snapping that streak, which I know their fans are in a tough spot right now.
They have let us know how upset they are. Yes.
And I would hate for that to happen to them as well. But just looking at the matchup here, when you look back, these last 2 losses for Liberty and even that New Mexico State game where they were largely outplayed by the Aggies, but got kind of lucky there at the end of the game. Just the late game, I'm not even going to say coaching because I don't think it's coaching, but just the late game decision making, the play has just been a little undisciplined. They allowed Missouri State to just walk down the field for a game-winning score. Obviously, we saw how the game against FIU ended. So if they can kind of shore some of that up, and then Ethan Vasco, 5 interceptions in his last 4 games, we know what this La Tech defense can do. And if you start throwing a couple picks and putting them in good field position, it's just going to doom the Flames, unfortunately.
That Louisiana Tech secondary, they're ball hawks. They're going to find it. If crazy. You put it in anywhere in their vicinity, they are going to get it. Definitely going to be on the lookout for this one. Again, Louisiana Tech looking for their 6th win. Definitely a lot to play for. They're at home this weekend. I think that this will be another interesting one. But again, that Louisiana Tech defense is something to watch for the Flames going into this weekend.
Yep.
All right, moving on to Sam Houston at Middle Tennessee, which actually ends up being kind of an interesting game. If you look at the bottom of our Conference USA standings, Sam Houston sitting at 1-5. Middle still looking for their first win in conference play this season. I think that this one could be pretty interesting. Don't know if Gagliano's starting for the Blue Raiders or not at the time of recording this podcast. But what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the way that Sam Houston has won these two games. We kind of talked about it in the recap from week 12, but they've just been this turnover-prone defense, and special teams have been areas where they've really dominated, forcing mistakes by the opponents and just dominating a game, a very underrated part of the game in special teams that has played a vital role in these two wins. Like, I think you can just write off special teams a lot and just being a very automatic thing, but it's been huge for them. So if they can continue to focus on those two areas, they might be able to stack a third straight win, which is something that, that kind of reminds me of the 2023 Sam Houston team, their first year in Conference USA, where it was like they were dropping all these close games. Year one of FBS, they end up winning a couple at the end to finish 3-9, and ultimately they rode that momentum into year two. So I think for them, they're just trying to salvage what they can from this year and see if they can't build a little momentum into year two with Phil Longo next year. And the Blue Raiders are kind of in that same boat. They're just seeking a bright spot in the season, right? Because it obviously has not gone the way that they anticipated. And you saw a little bit of a bright spot with the performance of Roman Gagliano, so maybe he gets them to that first conference win in week 13 against Sam Houston. But
we'll see on that one. That one again is at 2 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus. And then we move into a rivalry game, New Mexico State at UTEP. Again, that one is also at 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus. The 102nd meeting of the Battle of I-10. UTEP leads it 60-39-2. There's a tie break. There's a tie at some point. Two ties
somewhere. Yeah, when you play 100 times and you played way back in the 20s or something, I'm sure there was.
I don't know. I saw that and I was like, oh, interesting. But UTEP did win the last meeting. So what are you expecting out of this game?
Yeah, I look at both these defenses, and I do not envy either quarterback, Skylar Locklear or Logan Fife, because on either side, you've got New Mexico State defense, who ranks 6th in FBS in turnovers. I mean, they're almost guaranteed to have at least one in this game, right? I mean, they've had 22 in 10 games on the year, so they're averaging over 2 turnovers a game. UTEP 26th in the nation in sacks. I just talked about how against Missouri State, they were putting Jacob Clark on the ground a lot and forcing him to be on the run. So both these quarterbacks have their work cut out for them, trying to find some little advantages, trying to change their game plan a little bit to, for UTEP, maybe playing a little safer, knowing that New Mexico State is going to be trying to punch the ball out, or, their secondary is also full of ball hawks. And then, on the New Mexico State side, trying to figure out, their protections and how they can keep Logan Fife on his feet.
Yes. And I think that Logan Fife has had some rough games over the past couple.
Yeah.
But this could be one where he comes out there and is able to really get the ball thrown around the field. Obviously, they played Tennessee this last weekend. That was a tough game for them. It was tough to preview for us as well, because we were just not sure. Tennessee's a great team. So I'm interested to see what Logan Fife can do in this game. And we'll have to see. It's in El Paso, Sun Bowl, on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Beautiful weather probably. So it'll be a fun one to watch for sure. That one again is at 2 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus. All right, our CBS Sports Network game of the week, Jacksonville State at FIU, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. This one has a lot of implications as well.
Yeah, and I put this as my dark horse game of the week. I think obviously the Missouri State-Kennesaw State game sticks out, but because of the implications here, because you have a Jack State team that has, they're playing with house money right now. They're 6-0 in conference. All they need is one win to get in the championship game. Almost, I should say, I think it's 9 of our 14 scenarios feature them hosting the championship. So they're in a great spot right now.
Which we're not going to go through all the scenarios today. No. You can look at that. We'll come back to you next week, because we're not going to sit here and run down 14 scenarios, but they are in the lead in several of them.
Yeah. So, they're in a good spot right now. FIU has turned the season around a little bit. We talked about how much of a roller coaster it was early on, but now with Joe Pazanski under center, they're starting to stack a couple wins, and they're at their, in Pitbull Stadium again, bringing Jack State in. Maybe Jack State feels a little, they just got the big win. Maybe they're kind of letting off a little bit and get a little complacent. I don't know. But Yeah, I'm super excited for this game. See, I was a little nervous maybe in midway through the year. I was like, it's kind of an interesting one to be on CBS Sports. Now in hindsight, I'm like, all right, yeah, this is a great pick.
Job, guys.
Great pick for them to have this game because of how important it could be to the championship race. And then again, we've already said this a couple of times, but FIU sitting at 5-5 and just needing one more win to get to a bowl game. But the kind of couple of questions I have in this game, the FIU defense, can they stop Caden Creel and Cam Cook? Because it doesn't seem like a whole lot of people have been able to do that.
Yeah.
And in their 3 games where they've played some of our more run-heavy offenses, Missouri State, Kennesaw, Liberty, they've allowed nearly 200 yards per game. So we've talked a lot about how great that secondary is, but they can only do so much
if they're not throwing the ball.
Yeah. So I think that's question number 1. And then I think for Joe Pizanski, we've seen what he's been able to do in his spot starts here with Kewan Jenkins on the bench. But this Jack State pass defense, even though we talked about how they were able to force the turnovers against Amari Odom this past week, they do give up a lot of yards passing wise. So if Joe Pizanski can kind of play just sound football and continue to move the ball for the Panthers, can they find a way to exploit that Jack State defense and get to a win?
Yep, this will be a good one for sure. Be sure you're tuned into it as well. 2:30 p.m. Central Time on CBS Sports Network. This one will overlap a little bit with that Kennesaw State game, Missouri State. So, you can have the multi-view up, get your screens going, watch some really good football. Now, this one, WKU at LSU, there's a lot of people out there that are going to roll their eyes about this game for one reason and one reason only, is that it's going to make it harder for all of us to figure out who's playing in the Conference USA Championship because they are playing a non-conference opponent.
Yeah.
But I think this could be a fun game. I don't know.
Very much so.
Shout out to Zach Greenwell, by the way, at LSU, who used to work at WKU and is sitting there
now.
Yes, it sits there. He's at LSU now doing a wonderful, incredible, amazing things. But this has got to be a hard weekend for him sitting there watching this game as well. But this is a winnable game for WKU. I think, you see what LSU's done this season, the difficulties they've been through, I guess I will say. And I would hope that they go into Death Valley and at least make some noise, whether or not they win the game or not. But yes, WKU at LSU, 6:45 p.m. Central Time on SEC Network.
Yeah. And for WKU, you're obviously sitting in a good spot right now with the conference championship race. You get a chance to maybe make some noise, right, with a big win over an SEC team. And if you lose, whatever, right, because then you turn around next week and you have to prepare to potentially host a conference, or play to host a conference championship game. So, maybe they go out there and they're just kind of throwing the ball around, recess football a little bit just to try and get a big win. But we'd be remiss if we didn't say, like, Rodney Tisdale Jr. has got to be pretty wide-eyed going into a night game at Death Valley as a redshirt freshman.
Love it. He had lived up to the maybe not the hype, but he has been able to go out there in big situations and make big plays, though. I think that he, he can get out there and throw it around the yard a little bit in this game. I think that it will be a tough one. I have been to several games in Death Valley. They are intense and fun. But yeah, they've definitely got to get their wits about them when they walk into that stadium.
Yeah, and the Tigers have a great defense. They're top 25 in a number of stats. But, for Rodney Tisdale, again, he's 3 starts. He's averaging 300 yards per game, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So he's played good football for the Tops. Obviously, this is a huge test for him. And, for LSU, obviously the season has not gone the way they wanted it to. I think they're sitting at 6-4 going into this game. And, so they have a bowl game coming, but, fired the head coach. You're not in the SEC championship race. So maybe they just kind of, scoff at WKU a little bit and let them get a big win for us.
We will see.
And of course, you've seen all the people, plotting on Twitter that, if WKU, beats LSU and then they, beat Jack State and win the Conference USA Championship game, then they're 10-2, are they a playoff team? So I don't know about all that. We can wait to get into that conversation, but obviously the WKU fans are excited about this one for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely a lot to talk about. So that is our slate for this weekend coming up in week 13. Like we mentioned, lots going on, lots of implications for the very end of the season. We will try and break it all down for you on next week's episode when we have a few more things figured out here, maybe a few less championship scenarios to go through. So as I mentioned, though, there's another great event happening this weekend outside of football. Our Conference USA Volleyball Championship happening this weekend at FIU. You looked at what happened over the weekend. The bracket came out. If you didn't see, UTEP and WKU split the regular season championship because they had the same record. They beat each other once. It is what it is.
Yep.
And then
everybody else
beat everyone else. And UTEP, though, better in the RPI than WKU, which gets them the number 1 seed in the championship. WKU sitting at the number 2 seed. And only 8 of our programs make the Conference USA Championship. So you've got UTEP at number 1. Number 2 is WKU, followed by number 3, Kennesaw State, FIU at number 4, Liberty at number 5. And then we've got Jacksonville State at number 6, New Mexico State at number 7, and another number 8 seed from Missouri State. Can they come in and upset again? Who knows?
That's true.
Yeah, I know. Maybe history will repeat itself. There's no telling. But UTEP did sweep Missouri State 2-0 in the regular season. A couple of other fun ones here. FIU plays Liberty. FIU swept Liberty 2-0 in the regular season. The interesting one here, WKU and number 7 New Mexico State didn't play each other in the regular season. So those are 2 opponents that have not seen each other yet. But then Kennesaw State takes on Jacksonville State, and Kennesaw State swept them 2-0 in the regular season. So lots of volleyball to watch on this weekend, and it's all on what network, Josh?
ESPN Plus.
Perfect.
All 7 matches. So I think worth noting, this one is in Miami, so hosted by FIU. So, for them, hypothetically, if you get matched up with UTEP in that semifinal, maybe there's a little extra edge for the Panthers against the top seed. So obviously us in the conference office, we don't want to root for or against anybody. But if we could get 3 teams in the
that would be pretty awesome.
Tournament, that'd be pretty cool too.
We would not be upset about that, for sure. Well, it will be interesting to see who wins this one. Will WKU be knocked off of their championship? I don't know how many in a row they've got now, but it's quite a few.
A lot.
And can UTEP get to the top of this one and win the CUSA Championship? We will have to see. But be sure to go ahead and go to conferenceusa.com where you can check out the schedule and the watch links and the bracket for all of that championship information. All right, everyone, that is it for us today. Lots of info coming your way, but a fun episode here on CUSA Insider. If you are not following us already on social media, make sure you do so at CUSA Insider Pod on X and Instagram. And then if you are following us on YouTube right now, you're watching the show, thank you very much for finding us there. But if you are listening on our audio-only platforms and you would like to watch the show, you can find us on YouTube. Just search Conference USA, and the CUSA Insider Podcast playlist will be right there on that homepage. If you are one of our OG audio-only listeners, though, we still love you. You can still continue to find us on Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called, Spotify, and Amazon Music. And be sure to go to conferenceusa.com to check out all of the upcoming news and action from around the league. All right, everyone, that is it for us today. You are listening to CUSA Insider, the official podcast of Conference USA. I'm Sarah Rudolph, signing off.